75% of all mergers and acquisitions fail to achieve their strategic or financial objectives. And a lot of reasons account for this. You sometimes buy at the wrong time. You sometimes pay the wrong price. Sometimes you buy the wrong company. What we find in our 30 years of research in over 100 cases of mergers and acquisitions is that what matters most in eventual financial or strategic success is the process through which the two companies come together. And what we find is if you look at each of the three stages of a deal, there's a distinct emphasis between the 75% of failures and the 25% of successes. In the pre-combination phase, when you're thinking through why are we doing the deal, who do we want to do it with, you start doing your due diligence, what we find is there's a financial tunnel vision in the 75% of failures. Too much focus on the financial structure of the deal. The successful deals have a strategic orientation. The question is posed, why are we doing the deal? And we only find a partner that fits our strategy rather than fits our financial terms. Now let me be clear, a good strategy does not make up for lousy numbers. If you've paid the wrong price or bought the wrong company, you've done just that. But having a sound strategy up front is critical, because if you have a sound strategy, then we can talk about how does the buyer fit the strategy, how does the seller fit the strategy, and that deflects this head-on battle, which leads us to the combination phase. After the deal's done and the two companies come together, start planning how to move forward, the typical emphasis is politicking, people digging in, protecting their turf, trying to fend off overtures from the other side. In the successful cases, you bring the two sides together in a planning orientation. And what matters here is whether it's a merger or acquisition. In a merger, we're building a new entity out of two former companies. So whose way is better? Maybe your way, maybe my way, maybe a different way. In an acquisition, I'm taking you over, but you can still involve people in planning how to move from their way to your way. Then that brings us to the post-combination phase. This is after the planning occurs and you start implementing. I get calls 18 months after a deal's done. The two cultures are clashing. Productivity has plummeted. The best people have jumped ship. Can you come in and put out those fires? And there's lots that we can do to come in and put out those fires. But the successful orientation is marked by flexibility. Successful mergers and acquisitions have a lot of mid-course corrections. So what we find is if you start out with a sound strategy, have a very good planning process, employees will then take mid-course corrections in stride. And think about it. That's how M&A is done. The way the game is played is when you buy a company, only then can you really dig in and find out what they're all about. And if you level with employees and educate them about the merger and acquisition process, they will take these mid-course corrections in stride, and that puts you on the path to successful M&A.